So, you can work with
So, the technique we're going to do tonight for the first part is very similar to the one we did Monday. And as I said, a lot of jiu-jitsu, the more you do it, the more you kind of see the same movements over and over. That's why you really want to master the movements rather than the techniques. Okay, so something I want you guys to always be aware of is sort of two concepts that I try to preach, which is when defending yourself, there's a timeline of problems. Okay, the earlier in the timeline I can solve the problem, the less work I have to do, the less danger I'm in. For instance, if he never even gets close enough to punch me, I don't have to worry about punch defense. I don't have to worry about fighting on the ground. Does it make sense? So if I'm here, and your hands are up, and I try to grab you around my head, well, does she have to defend a headlock on the ground now? No, because she stopped it before it ever even got to there. Right? The later in the problem she goes, the more work there is. Does everybody understand? The other thing you want that means though is, especially when you get into like the grappling more and you're learning arm bars and triangles and things, you have to know what they want to do. You have to know what they're trying to accomplish. And that's where jiu-jitsu becomes an art of knowledge, right? So I have to know what he wants to do, okay? So for headlocks, there's a timeline, okay? And it's really important to understand this timeline because if you want to get off the timeline at a certain point, you have to know which door to get off of. You can't, there's not just one answer. The further in the headlock we go, the different the answer. The further in the triangle we go, the different the answer you have to use. Further in the arm bar, different escape. Okay? Everything is the same. So, first is he wants to be able to get one arm around my head. Then he wants to lock his arms. Things are getting bad now, but I'm still upright. Now he wants to pull me down. Now things are bad. Now he wants to put me on the ground. Now things are getting really bad. Okay, and then on the ground there's further and further problems. How it holds me. Okay? So first, of course, if he went for the head and my hands are up, I can just stop him reaching around my head. If he gets around my head, I stop him locking his arms. He locks his arms, I keep my posture. I lose my posture, well now we're in trouble. Okay? So, with jiu-jitsu, when he grabs me, it's like I've mentioned before, Hoist wore gi in the first UFCs, and he told me to avoid it because guys grabbed it. And if they're grabbing it, they're not punching him, for one thing, at least with that hand. And they're connected to him, but now he's connected to you, to me. You guys ever see the Watchmen movie? Okay, there's a scene in there, there's a crazy guy named Rorschach, and he ends up in jail, and he gets to fight with a convict. And as they're dragging Rorschach away, he says, "Remember, I'm not locked in here with you, you're locked in here with me." Okay? So when somebody grabs you that way as a jiu-jitsu person, you should think, oh great, they're locked in with me, because I know more than they do here. Okay? So when he's here and he grabs me, and I'm upright, lock your hands, I still have the leverage to start to break the holds, to throw him, to do other things. Once he bends me over, I can't do any of those things anymore. Does that make sense? Okay. So, first, he bends me over. He's going to do one of two things. He's either going to try to throw me to the ground, or he's just going to keep kind of a wide base and just pull me down and kind of be here in a bully hold. And they'll always have the danger of him punching. Okay. For now, we're just going to go with escaping this. So, I'm no longer in a position where I have leverage to break this hold. But since he's holding on to me, I can move us both to a place where I now have the leverage to break the hold. So when somebody grabs you guys, don't panic. You can actually move both of you to where you have the advantage. That's the hardest thing to learn in jiu-jitsu. Our instinct is just immediately panic and fight where we are. Okay? Just like the upa. We hold the person, we roll them over, now we're on top. So when he comes here, I can't break the hold here. Okay, get a little wider base. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so my hand holds his hip. Now you see I'm a little bit to the side? You're going to be naturally to the side anyway. But if I'm behind him, I'm going to step a little to the side. Notice this looks exactly like that position from Monday's class. So I hold his hip. This hand goes behind. I'm holding like this. Not a hook, a thumb. Now I'm just going to take a little step, and my other leg is going to pass the soccer. Pass the soccer ball to Manuel. If his legs are too wide, you can just pass between his legs. I'm not throwing him, I'm just sitting down. Very important. I'm not trying to throw him back. I go here, I sit, I push his legs over, my hand comes to the ground. Now I'm in a much better position. He tries to roll me. Don't hold on to him, because then you get rolled over. Okay? I'm not trying to throw him. I'm literally just putting my leg out, just sitting. What does that look like? A break fall. Now, very important, anytime you put your foot up, don't put your knee pointing up, please. Always turn your foot. That's why I say I want you guys passing it. Okay? For me, I try to put the bottom of my foot against his leg. If I go past it, I go in front of it, it's not that important. The main thing is I just sit all my weight. So grab me, I'm here, I sit, now look. When I sit, as I fall, pull your arm under. So you don't lay on your arm. Once we're here, this hand, if I let go, maybe he could turn into me. So this hand controls his leg, it pushes it, I come up to my knees, my butt is down, and my hand goes behind his head. Now look, if he's very strong and my arms are bent, he may roll me. My hands go straight, I push my butt down, he goes to roll me. And one last thing, don't try to keep your head up. You just strain your neck. Pull my head down. I just let him pull. I don't give him anything. I don't try to resist where you hurt your neck. Does everybody understand? This is very much like same thing we did for Monday. He's just holding our head in this one. Does everybody understand? You should not have to use power. You're just sitting there. Okay? Any questions? All right. Watch your surroundings, please. Let's try it. All right, so try. Good. So he gets me in the headlock. Here. Here, I take him down. Here. Now let go for a second. So, if he lets go of my head, great. But what you'll find is that once somebody is, especially somebody who's not trained, gets control of your head, they will not let go of your head. It doesn't matter. You mount them, they'll still hold your head. Okay? You take their back, they'll still hold your head. Because it's a lifeline for them. Right? They think as long as I control your head, I'm winning the fight. Okay? I literally had somebody do this to me once. Mount me, please. Bring your head down. Tap! I got you! So, it's in our heads. Okay. But now I'm in a position where I have leverage to break the hold. Because he's on bottom trying to hold me much harder. Okay. A simple rule, one is patience. Sometimes against a strong person, this move might take a little bit of time. Okay, but I have all the time in the world because I'm on top. The other thing is always, if I can make my opponent more uncomfortable than he's making me, I'll stay there. Right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make him more uncomfortable than he's making us. Okay? So, when I'm here, first thing is, I want to bring this leg over. So if he's kind of crunched up, this can be a little bit hard. So I put my hand right here to block on the ground. I hold his shoulder, and I'm going to slide my knee back and pull his shoulder till he's open. My hand stays here as a block. Now, depending on your flexibility, you could step over right now, but I find a lot of times I move down towards his hips, step over, pull my foot into his belt, slide my knee back up. For those of you who were here Friday, this is the same position when the person rolled over. We're in a technical mount or technical back. The only difference is he's holding our head. Okay? So remember, it's very important that when I practice this, I start out with my knee behind his head and my other knee behind his waist. Don't start out down here. And my butt is down always. The more your butt comes up, the easier it is for the person to roll you across their body. Okay? So just a good rule in general in grappling is just keep your butt down. Okay? So I'm here, I go, I move down, I pull, I step over, I come back here. Now where do my hands go? Because he can still roll me over here. So if he tries to roll me, we're here. So we're moving to a better position where we have even more leverage. Okay, now obviously if he lets go, we have options from there, great options. But he's still holding on to the head. Okay, so really quickly. I've got his head. When he feels ready, maybe I'm not trying to throw him anymore. If you start to do this and the guy tries to do this, you will always go back to this. He blocks my waist, he moves his knee back, he opens me up, he moves down, he steps over, and then he adjusts his knee back, up. Okay? So notice he's facing sideways to me. Okay, or I kind of joke we're facing the same way, like we're both watching the same movie. Okay? Alright, let's just do that next part. Okay? We have to take, not these mats, but I think Ericon has some different mats. Take them out to the park someday or over by a pool and do jiu-jitsu there and go swimming. Ice cream, yeah. Go put them in front of an ice cream shop and just go. Okay, so let me actually get your head. Okay, so he grabs my head. We landed here. Always making sure he cannot roll me again. Okay. So here, lock. I step over. Make sure, as much as possible, get your knee up to the top of his head because it'll make the next part easier. Okay? As best you can. So I want to be facing this way. So now I have to get him to let go. Okay? So, let's go for one more time. Sorry. This position, especially with headlocks and self-defense, you're going to use a lot, which I call the 300 as a joke, right? You take one arm, you stick it out like this. You take your other hand, this is a fist, and you secure it like this. Okay, like the 300 shields. This. Not weak, strong. Okay, you will use this anytime you want to keep somebody's weight off of you or from holding on to you, especially against somebody's neck, which is what we're going to do now. So he holds on to my head, so he's pulling me down, so I'm going to put something in the way. I bring this arm over, I make a fist. I'm not relaxing my hand, I make a fist right in his neck. This hand comes through, and I put my weight here. Now, if I just try to pull up, it's his strength versus my strength. Because look at his arm. His elbow is in line with his shoulder, he's very strong. Like bench pressing this way. How strong would you be bench pressing this way? Not at all. So I'm going to take his elbow above his head. So he's holding here. I lift my head up as much as I can, and I drive this way as I'm pressing down. Okay? As I go, I drive my head up, and I put my weight into this frame. I'm not going this way or this way. It's this. I go like this, I lift my head, and I bring my head directly over his. If he's being very strong, this arm, I grind as I do it. Okay? I really want to emphasize, don't just put your hand here. I want the side, that bone right there. So he holds, come in, I drive, here. Okay. We're just doing that part. For now, don't hold on super tight and let the person practice. But again, he's strong here, but the more I take his shoulder above his head, the weaker he gets. And then everything is the same. Okay, or we can mount or we can take his back. The point is we got him to let go. Okay, so real quickly here. He opens me up. He steps over. he adjusts back up high, because the more his knee is here, the easier it'll be to step over later. He makes the frame a fist and the edge of that bone. You're not putting the soft part on. He's holding onto your head, no time to be nice. This hand with the thumb. He lifts his head up a little bit, so there's tension, and he drives that way. Okay?
Catch the arm immediately.
You will catch the arm. We'll cover that in the next part, but yeah, you want to catch the arm because it's there now. It's yours.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's try it. Hands by dry. So he's here. On his side. Hold. Now, there may be lots of ways you get to this position. And maybe I have side control, and some guys will actually grab your head and try to roll you over. You lock your hand. Yeah, and then try to roll you over. This even happens in mount. Guys will grab my head, try to roll me over, and I just slide right through here. Okay. So, what's the number one thing to control in any conflict? Distance. And I've said before that movement is one way, but structures are the other way. And it's really important to understand, especially on the ground, structures are very important. And there's only two kinds. So it's very simple to remember. Okay, one is called frames. Can I get you to sit up, please, and face me? All a frame is something that keeps him from coming closer or pushes him away. All a clinch is something that pulls him closer or stops him going away. Mm-hmm. So most of our battle is clinches versus frames. And actually at the upper level, he's doing clinches and frames at the same time. I'm doing clinches and frames. So for instance, if I was here, this is pulling him forward, but this is keeping him away. So I'm doing both. Does that make sense? So what's happening right now is he's trying to clinch me, but I'm using a frame to break that clinch. So if he clinches me, I want to break the clinch. If he frames me, I want to get past the frames. That's going to be 90% of your grappling. Guard passing is passing frames and clinches. Pinning him is using frames and clinches. Him escaping pins is having to use frames most often, but sometimes clinches. Okay, defending punches, you better be clinching. And you better not allow him to frame off to get space to hit again. Okay, the nice thing is, if you're good at structures, you don't have to use power. Right? If you build a good structure, you take a little triangle, you stick it under a 1,000-pound door, the door won't open. Okay, so you just have to have it built correctly and in the right place. So he's here. That's why this kind of structure, for instance, he clinches me, but if I just kind of put my hands here and try to do this, grab, I've got no strength. I bring my arm through and I start making this. And as I do, I lift my head, so I'm using my back a little bit. I'm not just trying to lift my head here, I'll hurt my back. And I drive my weight. His structure is strong, his frame is strong, his clinch is strong. But now look, it's getting weak, it's getting weak, it's getting weak. Now once it breaks, this hand catches the upper arm. I want to keep it, if possible, on this side of my head. I'll explain why in a minute. This hand that was here now becomes a palm, and I put all my weight on his face. Okay? I walk my foot up. I lean over his body towards his hips. My leg swings around. I keep my hand on his face. I sit. I slide back, hold his arm. Finish the arm bar. Okay. He's here. I break the frame with grind. Here. If this arm passes over here, it's okay. We can hold it like we did the other day. Problem is now he can lock his hands. Now I'm going to have to break that hold. So it's just easier if I just hold it here so he can't lock his hands. Watch my foot. I want my leg as close to his armpit as possible. If my foot is way down here, it's going to be hard to step over, and then my legs are going to be wide open. It's going to be easier for him to get his arm out. So I hold, and notice I'm not sitting on him, I'm upright. Now the way to do this, you can't pick this leg up if I don't put weight on this hand, and I got to lean over here. My leg swings around. Notice I'm sitting on him. Don't grab now. My hand stays on his face. I sit. Okay, for those of you guys who've been here before, hold his thumb, reinforce my thumb, lay back here. Any questions? Go slow, this is tight arm lock. Okay, let's try. Hands right.